First up today on Ag Etc., Dr. Chris Blevins with the Veterinary Health Center at KSU talks about what to do when your horse is choking. Next up, Kyle Bauer is at the Kansas Air National Guard 190th Air Refueling Wing talking with Col Chuck Remboldt. Then Doug Stevenson talks about cattle he raises in Montana. And we'll end with a look into cattle genomics. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. Watch AGam in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Hello and welcome to Horsing Around. I'm Dr. Chris Blevins at Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. And today we're going to talk about a topic that a lot of people may have to deal with their horses, and it can make for a very anxious time for the horse and an anxious time for an owner, and that's esophageal obstruction, also called choke. And so when a horse chokes, it's not necessarily that they get something lodged in their throat latch, but it is getting stuck food material in their throat or in their esophagus, which is the tube that attaches from their throat latch down into their stomach. And how that happens with horses could be a multiple of different reasons, but what I think we need to start with as far as talking about is what would your horse do or show if you were worried about the horse choking? And that's having fluid or food material come out the nose and even the mouth of the horse. They can also be very anxious, pacing around. Some of them may even act like they're colicking and roll. And so I think some of those things you need to be cautious of and be able to understand if you notice these things, then you need to call your veterinarian. Choke is not necessarily a drastic emergency, so we have to fix it right then, but it is an urgency. So what can an owner do before the veterinarian gets there? One, you have to remember that the horse is obstructed. It can't get anything into its stomach. So you need to take away all its food and all its water and put it in a quiet place. So we want to make sure that the head is down and keep the horse as relaxed as possible until the veterinarian gets there to try to prevent them from aspirating or getting food and bacteria into the lungs from the trachea. And so that is a complication that sure can arise with any time a horse chokes. And that wouldn't necessarily cause any issues right then, but sure could later. Now, having your veterinarian out there is usually what's needed to have that recovered. Some horses will recover on their own if they relax and calm down and they can swallow it on down, but otherwise the veterinarian need to get a hold of them. They need to come out and they can pass a tube to relieve that obstruction. Other aspects is putting them usually on antibiotics and making sure that they have proper pain control during the healing process. Cause could be due to teeth, could be due to a stricture, or could be that the horse was actually bolting their food. So your veterinarian can sure help you in trying to prevent those later on and keeping pelleted feed moist down, especially those horses that really want to bolt at their feed can kind of prevent an obstruction called choke. If you have any questions, get a hold of your veterinarian or get us a call here at Kansas State Veterinary Health Center. I'm Dr. Chris Blevins for Horsing Around, and we'll see you around.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
This is Eric Stonestreet, and as many of you know, I love my home state of Kansas. In March, Kansas ranchers lost homes, equipment, and thousands of cattle from the largest wildfires in the state's history. Imagine losing all you have in a fire. Not just your house, but your livelihood. Ranchers are beginning to rebuild, but it will take years, and tens of millions of dollars to build back herds, fences, and other infrastructure. Today, I'm asking you to help. Donate what you can and show your support to the ranchers of Kansas. Simply go to kansasfires.com. Your donation is tax deductible and will go to those who need it the most.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Wheat. Learn more at rediscoverwheat.org.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer. I had the opportunity today to fly with the Kansas Air National Guard on a mission of refueling B-2 bombers over Kansas. I have with me Col Chuck Remboldt. Colonel, tell me about the history of this wing here at Forbes Field.
Okay, y'all. Hey, it's great to have you on that flight. It was a beautiful day for that. The 190th Air Refueling Wing has had tankers here since about 1977, and the wing actually has its roots that go all the way back to the Wichita area. And we flew a reconnaissance bomber type airplane. I say we, it wasn't me. I'm not quite that old, but they've been up in the Topeka area since the early 70s. And in the 77, we went to the KC-135. Various times we've had different models of aircraft. The basic airframes have remained the same, but they've re-injured them and they've put new avionics on them. The mission's been pretty much the same the whole time, which is air refueling. We have been involved, I think, in about every major federal mission or mission that involved our wartime commitment, which is our federal type mission. And that federal type mission, really allows all of our folks, in this wing, which is about 1,200 people, to be employed here to meet those needs of our government and the Air Force. And we blend right in with the active duty when we do that. It's a concept called the total force concept. So I've deployed in the Middle East several times, and when we get over there, we're with several other units from around the country, and some of them are active duty, some of them are reserve, some of them are guard, and we get together. It's almost like we've flown together all our lives. We use the same techniques, we've got the same airplanes. It's a total force concept. It's wonderful. But what we get that out of Kansas is those 1,200 people that are here, most of them are here most of the time. I mean, we do deploy, but when they're here, we answer Kansas's national emergencies, whether it be an ice storm or a tornado or a flood or something like that. So it's been a really, really good relationship that's the same across the whole United States with the National Guard wing. So it works pretty well.
The Kansas Air National Guard is a major employer in this area.
Yes, they are. And in the Wichita area, there's another, I don't know the number exact, but it's a little bigger wing than we have. And they don't have aircraft in the Kansas National Guard of Wichita, but they do a mission, an intelligence mission, which is, again, very important. Cyber and the computer realm has been obviously hugely expanding, and they're right there at the leading edge of that. And they're doing work with the aerial surveillance drones. Everything's connected now around the world, which is really interesting. And then the other mission that they have, which is fantastic, is they work with the cyber and the different computer systems that we have, and they help keep our systems safe, and they monitor them and they maintain them and different things like that.
We're visiting with Col Chuck Remboldt today. We are in Topeka at Forbes Field. This is Kyle Bauer reporting.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
I'm a patient of Kansas Regenerative Medicine in Manhattan. I had stem cell therapy in my hips and my left knee. My wife and I both are patients. We went down there the same day in November. Since then, My hips are feeling a lot better. I can work now most of the day if I want to. And before, if I worked in the morning, I was done in the afternoon, or if I worked in the afternoon, I was sure enough done for the rest of the day.
This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer visiting with Col Chuck Remboldt about our mission today. We refueled B-2 bombers. You know, so much happened, and it was really an experience of a lifetime for me. Most of the B-roll that the folks are going to see while we visit, I got to take. But just tell me about how the whole mission came down today.
Okay, well, these are typical missions that we do day in and day out here, and it is to make sure that we have proficiency and our receiver pilots have proficiency. So today, you know, it started long before today. The two units developed a training plan where they picked out the days and the locations and the altitudes to do this training at, and we do that, you know, on a daily basis. So today we came out here, and of course our behind-the-scenes guys were getting the aircraft ready while you were in listening to some briefings. Our guys in the operations center were calling the receiver pilots, making sure they were all ready to go. And then we kind of gave you an overview. We took off from here, Forbes, and we went westbound to the Dodge City area. The plan was to rendezvous with the V2s at the Dodge City area and then refuel them towards the east. Of course, they're returning to Whiteman Air Force Base in the Sedalia, Missouri area. The Knob Noster, I believe, is the closest city to that base. So we took off. We headed out west. We climbed to 29,000 feet. We had a beautiful day today. So you had a real treat today. It's not always this good, but we do this in all weather. So it is amazing. Sometimes it can get pretty hairy. Sometimes we have to change our plan in the middle of executing because we realize, okay, we got to go a different direction for weather or whatever. But everything was good today. We rendezvoused with them. We were at 29,000 feet when we did the rendezvous. Two of the B2 showed up initially, and we immediately went right into training with the first guy. He was the first two B2s were actually on check rides. I don't know if you knew that. So their pilots were getting certified to do the air refueling and making sure that they were proficient. They took some of our gas, which they needed just a little bit because they were going back to Whiteman to do some touch and goes. And as soon as the first one was done, he dropped off, and the next two just kept showing up. We got the next one somewhere about the Wichita area. The first one dropped off and headed to Whiteman. The second receiver was done about the Kansas-Missouri line, and then the third receiver finished just about right over Whiteman. So we just kept driving west. We did that with them along the way. We're talking to Kansas City Center primarily. They dropped off as they got all their training and what they needed. And then once they were all finished, we turned around, came right back here to Forbes and put her down on the ground. A lot of times when we don't have people on board, reporters and such, we obviously get our training by doing our touch and goes and things like that. So
it was amazing to me to watch you keep the speeds exactly the same. The boom does actually hook on, but adjusting that speed was, I watched you feather the throttles, and that is extremely touchy.
Yes, and as they come up behind you, it's almost like a wake of a boat that they're trying to go through. You can't see it because it's air, but they also have a wake which kind of pushes my airplane. So it's kind of a little dancing act we do, and if you do it slowly and under control, it just very small throttle movements and very small control movements on my part creates a stable platform for them to get behind and get connected up. And just like you say, it actually does latch on to each other.
Well, this happens daily over Kansas, over the fields of Kansas. We're talking with Col Chuck Remboldt with the Kansas Air National Guard. This is Kyle Bauer reporting.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Tarwater Farm and Home has been family owned and operated since its beginning in 1978. What you need for farm and agriculture, lawn and garden, clothing and footwear, and so much more. You'll be surprised at what you'll find in this huge store. They have what you need and lots of it. So come take a look. You'll discover that customer service is first and foremost. Always has been with the Tarwaters. Tarwater Farm and Home, 4107 North Topeka Boulevard.
Mark your calendars now for the 2018 Topeka Farm Show, January 9th, 10th, and 11th at the Kansas Expo Center. 253 exhibitors, 612 booths, and other attractions like free horse training clinics with Scott Daly, the Kansas Soybean Expo, and free well water nitrate testing. Enjoy free parking, admission, and a chance to win grand prizes courtesy of Midland Seed and Hoyt Truck Center. All this and more at the Topeka Farm Show, January 9th through the 11th at the Kansas Expo Center.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Don't call Basin Angus Ranch a carcass program, or not just a carcass program.
The cattle we sell to our customers are used to produce really good quality replacement females. That's been the backbone of our program. When somebody buys a bull from us, they know that they're going to have a bull that's going to raise good quality replacement females. That's what keeps them in business. That's what keeps us in business.
But Doug and Sharon Stevenson know that the ultimate goal is to produce beef that meets consumer demand.
It's been a long-term approach that it's taken to do that. We don't single trait select. We don't chase extremes. We've been very fortunate to end up with some cattle that rank as at levels that most people would call extremes on the carcass traits. But we did it not by chasing extremes. We did it by continuing to follow our basic core beliefs in easy fleshing, feed efficiency, structural soundness, deep-bodied range cattle.
The rancher watches the American Angus Association's data updates every week and evaluates the live animals constantly. His cattle are more the product of study than luck.
We started doing structured carcass testing 30 years ago, and it's been something that we've stayed the course with through all that time. Ultrasound has been a great tool, but ultrasound is indicator trait. It's not the direct data. And so, although it is really helpful, we still have to do structured testing. We have to gather all the real world data that we can. And that's key to making progress.
The ranch location is different. The next generation is getting involved with more and more decisions, and cooperator herds help build numbers. But for all the changes, teamwork with their buyers has remained constant.
We had customers that were figuring out that they needed to differentiate their product. And we had a desire to try and make a positive impact in making cattle that were the superior carcass cattle, but really had all the good things that we need to have for good range cattle. And it just went hand in hand. And those customers that wanted to make changes in that manner, we work well together. We've ended up developing really strong relationships with those herds. They rely on us, and we rely on them.
Basin Angus Ranch received the 2017 Seed Stock Commitment to Excellence Award at the Certified Angus Beef Brand Annual Conference in September. I'm Bob Cervera.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways. Of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on AGam in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
Hello friends, I'm Ernie Rodina.
And I'm Dawn Dawson with the Better Horses Radio Show.
For over 9 years, we've been bringing the Better Horses Radio Show to markets all across the Midwest. We talk about God, lots about horses.
We talk about cows, we talk about horse health, we talk to top trainers, and we even talk about Roy Rogers.
We're having a blast with Better Horses Radio Show and would love to take it to a market near you.
So visit our website at betterhorsesradio.com and let us or your local radio station know you'd like to hear it in your area.
The Better Horses Radio Show is unbelievable.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Hello and welcome to AGam in Kansas. I'm your guest host Sam Capone, and today we're at the BIF convention in Manhattan, Kansas, and I'm here with Stuart Buck. So Stuart, tell us a little bit about what you do and your job duties.
Okay, well thank you. I am with a company called GeneSeek, and we are the world's largest animal genomics testing facility located in Lincoln, Nebraska of all places. And the job that we do is we take a small sample, a hair sample, a little bit of tissue, perhaps a blood sample. We extract cellular material and DNA, and we do a genomic analysis on that sample. And from the genomic information, we are able to determine the genetic merit of that animal for its future breeding purposes.
So Matt, I understand that you have this new business,
Embryo One.
Embryo One. Tell us a little bit about it.
It's basically a business where I receive embryos from embryo practitioners, be it in vivo or in vitro derived, and I can take a little biopsy of the embryo, and we can do several things. We can tell you the sex, or if it's a carrier of a recessive trait, or a full genomic background of what that calf would be if it makes a pregnancy.
So how do you work with businesses like Embryo One?
So, well, they're a great and very interesting customer. So what they do is they take an embryo and they take some of the cells out of that embryo, they send it to us, we apply a chemical procedure that allows us to make thousands and thousands and thousands of copies of the DNA. And once we have the DNA amplified up, we genotype the DNA and we genotype it to create the genetic evaluation.
So why should ranchers or producers want to come and seek this opportunity?
For the seed stock producer, it would be attractive to know the sex of the embryo,
Definitely.
or to know if it's a carrier of recessive trait, if it's a really high pedigree donor, but you don't want to move along with the carrier embryos that she might produce. From a genomic standpoint, with the full genomic background, you could look at embryos and say maybe take the bottom third that don't genetically match what you're chasing and not put those in and not tie up the resources of a recipient animal for 9 months, which in an embryo operation, the hardest, most finite part to put together is the recipient herd.
So think about this. The technology allows you to take a few cells from an embryo that's just a few days old, and with the technology, you will be able to make a prediction about the genetic merit of that animal that's equal to growing it up, breeding it to some heifers, and raising their progeny for an evaluation. We save literally years worth of time and thousands of dollars worth of investment.
And what are the costs?
Typically it's going to add about $150 per embryo, give or take, to your day's production.
And then how long does it take to get the results back when you test it?
Typically 14 days.
14 days. So that's a pretty quick turnaround then.
They do a good job at the lab.
So with this great technology and all the great tools it has, do you see an increase in the future that more people will start using it?
It's just been an absolute explosion of technology. If I were to, tell you about what comes in our back doors, it's an exponential growth. Part of that is because the cost of the technology to the individual producer is coming down. I oftentimes say to people, in what universe does it make sense that somebody can send me a tail hair sample covered in manure, and in 14 days and for less than $15, I will query the very essence of life and tell them about the future breeding potential of that animal? It makes no sense. But those things all contribute to a broad scale adoption of the technology because it's so powerful for the benefits it can provide.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Stuart.
My pleasure. Thank you for interviewing me.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.